In our Western scientific materialistic society that does not nurture the paranormal phenomenon, most people who have encountered or read about UFOs believe that they are extraterrestrial beings from another planet. The public perceives them to be physical, material creatures visiting Earth in spaceships. Tonight, independent UFO researcher Pete Hardinger with his report on the UFO phenomenon.
Hello.
Hello, Pete. How are you doing tonight?
Okay, Brian.
I was wanting to let you know that we are live, and
Okay.
we'll go ahead and begin this.
Alrighty.
So, Pete, what is your understanding of exactly what a UFO is?
Well, it's a flying object that is not explained. As you know, seeing an airplane or balloon or in the sky, it looks very unexplainable. It's unidentified.
Would it be classified as a phenomenon if you could see one?
According, if you can't explain it in that, if it does weird maneuvers in that, what is possessed. What I say is some UFOs represent advanced technology that we have observed in our on the ground and in our waters for many, many years. See, the U.S. Navy and other vessels on our oceans now have reported seeing UFOs also, some coming up out of the water.
Wow.
You don't hear about those too often, but there is cases like that.
That's the first I've ever heard of that. So what was it that sparked your interest into investigating the most open-ended conversation that has always puzzled mankind, even to this day?
Well, my personal sighting. You know, everybody, if you have a personal sighting, that's very, very unusual. Then you know this phenomena does exist. Now you're trying to find out, the answers to some questions like where they come from, what they consist of, and different things. And what I'm interested in is the structured craft type of sightings, not just in the sky.
Yeah. So you said you've had sightings? I mean, you've had experiences?
I had sightings. I've had 3 of them over the years. 2 of them was in the month of February 1958. The first one I'd seen, and I'll tell you, Brian, you can go to Google Southeast Ohio Magazine, and I'm in one of these sections of that magazine now. I'm interviewed on video for about 4 minutes and 12 seconds or so, and I explain them sightings. But I can tell you again, the first sighting I had with a friend of mine, we was going to a basketball game, and a red light hovered in the sky. As we got closer to it, it took off. We kind of followed it, and at that time, it was a helicopter or what, but it seemed awful strange, and we got within maybe 100 or 200 yards of it, and it really looked odd. Then the next one was on February 27th of 1958 when me and my brother saw he saw the closest object. It was a regular saucer-shaped craft, and I came to the window. It was about 1 o'clock at night, and there was a very bright white light in the sky. Well, it took about a minute later as it went off in the distance, it came back as a different type object. There's a red-orange object in the sky, if you can imagine, like the setting sun. It got within maybe a half mile of us. I was ready to climb underneath the bed because I was only 17 at the time, what was happening. But it stopped in the sky, and then the top half folded down into itself like a half moon. It tilted, then went down below the trees. So I knew then that this phenomenon existed. People could argue all they want, but if you have a personal sighting in that pretty well convinces you,
Yeah, it changes your whole outlook on the subject.
Right, and ever since then, Brian, I kept my eyes and ears open. And then later on in August 21st, 1994, I was working at the local DuPont plant up on the 5th floor at about 10 o'clock at night. I was working alone up there, and I looked up and seen a triangular-shaped craft going overhead. What made it very distinct was the full moon was above it, and this was only about 2,000 feet up in the air. And I could see, the outline of the triangular-shaped craft. And a couple of days later, they was reported being seen in Indiana. But that's the only thing I've seen in all, and I'm 70 years old now, so that's 3 of them I did see. But at a young age, at 17, I was convinced that was it. And keep my eyes and ears open, it paid off because I'm retired military and that, and it's interesting.
Yeah. I got a couple questions from the room. One of the viewers wants to know exactly what is a structured craft sighting?
Where you can see, saucer-shaped craft, and you can see outlines of it, and that, it's a structure to it. It's not just a light in the sky, and we have a lot of evidence to this phenomena too. And I don't know if you want me to go over some of it or not, some of the UFO evidence we have.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. One of them is, eyewitness reports, including many military sighting reports that people have talked about in the early years, and that pilots reported seeing them and chasing their jet aircraft and that, and others seeing them on the ground and that. But eyewitness reports, like my own. And then we have photographs and videos. Some of them are fake photographs or videos, but there's many out there that they're not explainable. You see the maneuvers and that they make. Another big type of evidence is your landing trace cases. I got a friend of mine, Ted Phillips, in Missouri. He has close to 5,000 landing trace cases that he's collected over the years, and that he used to work with J. Allen Hynek, who's the Air Force's chief consultant years ago. But this is where objects have been seen to land or take off, and they find, like tripod marks in the ground where it left. One of the famous cases was Socorro, New Mexico sighting back in 1964, where a police officer was chasing a car out of the desert, pulled over, and he seen a big set on the ground, and like two figures were by that object. And he got closer to it. The persons, whatever you want to call them, hopped back in the craft, and it took off. And the Air Force later investigated that sighting and left landing trace cases, marks on the ground, even burning bush. And the Air Force concluded it was an unknown case. They couldn't explain it. Another one's power outages. We've had where objects have went over towns or a house and that, and they've lost power. Vehicle interference cases. Several cases, people drive their car down the highway, nighttime, whatever, and the object hovers above them, and the car engine dies. Then the car starts up when the object leaves. Have you heard about those cases?
Yes, sir. Sure have.
Yeah. Several. One of the most famous case happened down Levelland, Texas, November of 1957. Like a dozen automobiles around the highway near the town of Levelland. Huge object appeared overhead. All the car engines died. The sheriff investigated in that, and years later, it was found out the sheriff's car was also affected by it. We've had animal reaction cases where dogs and they react, or horses and that, they react to an object nearby. It really scares them, that. And we've had aircraft UFO encounters where many, like say civilian pilots have reported seeing strange objects pace their airplane, whatever, over the years. A lot of you don't hear about it now is because it's kind of hushed up. If they want to keep flying commercial or military, you just don't report them things publicly like they did in the early years. Early years, they had radar visual cases were admitted by the U.S. Air Force. Like near an Air Force base, they may see a strange object up in the sky. It's confirmed on radar. And that was picked up.
Yes.
Freedom of Information Act. Stan Friedman, a well-known UFO researcher, he has many documents that where he got through Freedom of Information. Other researchers have too. I have some of the documents, and it shows where the government's talking about UFOs, and a lot of it's blacked out. They just they don't want the public to know everything.
So why don't you think they want to let us know about it? Why do they want to keep it so secret?
Well, that's the big question, that will people become in a panic and that, or what? What our goal is, I'm a director of the Roundtown UFO Society here in Circleville. In fact, you can go to roundtownuFOsociety.com like you did, I think, and was able to contact me. There's a lot of information on there, updates and everything else. And why they don't want to is, maybe the people still panic, but like I say, our goal is to help condition the public about the UFO phenomena existence. This is real and that, and people shouldn't be embarrassed or be laughed at, ridiculed because they report a UFO sighting. It's happened for many years, and it's there. In the past several years, I've became more public here, and you go to our website, you'll see news articles I've written for our local Circleville Herald and a lot of people in town. We're a town of about 14,000. A lot of the people here know I do UFO research. And the only time I was really heckled was I got a phone call from a man in Lancaster, Ohio, and he wanted to know if I was the UFO investigator. I said, yes, I am. And he got to laughing. I said, well, I can tell you that I'll have the last laugh. And it didn't upset me or nothing, that, but people who think it's fun or whatever, they just haven't done any research on it.
Exactly.
Like I say, you can go to our website and it opens up a lot. We got about 200 book reviews on it. Like I say, I got my newspaper articles on it and different links to different other organizations. Like this NICAP organization is headed in Mount Vernon, Indiana by Francis Ridge, a friend of mine. Their connection. There's definitely a connection with UFO phenomena with our nuclear facilities. It's been seen by them by our military and everything else over the years. But why the government don't want to let us know about it? Say it's maybe a conditioning program. That's all I can say about it. It does involve national security because once if they say UFOs do exist, it's out of the bag and you can't put it back in. And once they admit it, that's it. How's people going to react? Well, you tell me. Why do you think they don't tell us?
Yeah.
It's a good question I can ask yourself. Why don't you think? But it's a fascinating subject. I don't become obsessed by it because I'm retired now, and I never have been obsessed by it over all the years I've researched that because I'm involved in other things with different volunteer organizations. Like I'm with the county park board. And we're doing a lot of good things in the county about recreational purposes. I think when this story is supposed to come out, it will come out. Who knows when? The whole facts.
Yeah.
Now, other countries are admitting this. China has a lot of UFO organizations and that, and there's a list of countries. You go to our updates on the website. Every month we have a meeting, and I put the latest updates on it. So anybody can go to that update section and find out what we've been talking about at our monthly meetings, And it talks about other countries coming out with their UFO files and that. It's becoming more and more admitted by it.
Yeah. Now, how long do you think aliens have been around? What's your beliefs and theories on ancient aliens?
Well, ancient astronaut theory, I'm kind of for that. I think it very well could have had ancient astronauts. And what I'm saying, that's a belief. And see, the difference between knowledge and belief is knowledge is not a matter of belief or desire. Knowledge is a matter of evidence. So if I believe in something, do you have evidence to that? But if I know UFOs exist, here's all this evidence we have. Yeah. But I do believe ancient astronaut theory could be, because you got to ask yourself. The History Channel goes over a lot of that stuff about the pyramids and everything else, how they could have been built. It's just, if you have an open mind, you have to ask yourself, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I do know the modern day of UFOs. They said started with Roswell, that back in 1947, or the Kenneth Arnold sighting at the same time. But I give talks now about the 50 top known UFO events that ever happened. And do you ever hear about the Battle of L.A.?
No, I don't think I have.
Now they got a new movie out called Battle of Los Angeles, but that's nothing to do with the real event. Well, the real event happened in February 1942, where a huge object appeared over Los Angeles, nighttime. And they had searchlights. They have a famous picture, like 7 or 9 searchlights are centered on this object. You see a lot of flak. They fired